Hi, this is Chrissy Incognito, and welcome to another episode of my show. Now, you might be wondering why I'm incognito. This is my alter ego that can say things that I cannot otherwise say unless I was incognito. So, thank you for returning. In order to understand more about this episode, view the previous episode. Happy listening. Hi, this is Chrissy Incognito, and welcome to another episode of my channel. Now, you might be wondering why I'm incognito. This is my alter ego that can say things that I cannot otherwise say unless I was incognito. So, thank you for joining me again. So, as you can see from the other episodes, I was never really a drinker. When I went to Italy with my family, with my mother and my cousins and my aunts and uncles and everything, I really wasn't a drinker. Like the country was flowing with wine, and I was very hard pressed to get a Diet Coke. Okay? So I wasn't a drinker. I did drink in some situations just to have the experience of tasting what was going on in the region. So for example, when we were in Tuscany, when we were part of a tour. So when we got off the bus, the tour bus, we were greeted with blue champagne, which is so awesome. And to this day, I still need to, you know, try to get it. So obviously, in those cultural situations, I definitely partook, but not nearly as I would partake now or when I was having alcohol issues. So I was never really a drinker. In high school, I had a couple of episodes, with Michael, and then here and there, I mean, nothing really, anything to, as they say, write home about. So after the whole devastation went down with Greg, um, I now at this point, I when I was dating Greg, and I'm only giving you to like have an idea or a reference point of obviously if somebody is a lot bigger, taller, weighs more, the alcohol is gonna affect them differently. So when Greg and I broke up, I was probably about 118 pounds, which is pretty appropriate for me. Um, and I had somewhere dropped down to 108, um, in which my psychiatrist actually was very concerned. And he's like, if you keep losing weight, we're going to have to hospitalize you. And because he's like, you're not eating. And this is another time when I started to decompensate, which it just means I just wasn't thriving. I couldn't eat. And it was just a mess. Like I was crying nonstop. I was crying in the morning, crying, um, at work in the bathroom. I was crying at home. And it was just like I wasn't eating. I was using up all this energy crying. I was just going downhill, and it was very obvious in so much in which a supervisor at work who is just so not my supervisor that I have talked about, another supervisor who's kind of out of touch with people. He's kind of in his own world. Came up to me and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I had to kind of just smile and be like, "Oh, I appreciate your concern. Yeah, I'm okay, What are you gonna do? You're gonna start crying there in front of them and stuff like that." So, I was really decompensating, and I was just really not thriving. So when all of this stuff went down with Greg, I was so devastated that I couldn't even drink. The thought of going to the liquor store, purchasing liquor, picking out liquor, purchasing it, bringing it home, and drinking it was too much, um, effort, meaning that I could barely, do the everyday things. So, my doctor, my psychiatrist was like, Are you going to kill yourself?" And I think I even said to him, not at all to make light of suicide, but that would mean that I had enough strength to devise a plan and carry out a plan. I couldn't even eat, let alone devise anything beyond just the basic functions of life. So I said, "No." I said I didn't go into an explanation, which meant, like, I was so, um I don't mean beyond suicide, and again, I'm not downplaying it, but for me, I'm just saying for me, that that was more than I could even handle in carrying out, or, like, there had to be some sort of process, and I wasn't capable of any sort of process at that time. Um, the reason why I did go to work is because my thinking was like, I am not losing my job that I actually like because he's taken everything from me. He's taken um this beautiful relationship. He's obviously taken my essence because I'm like I feel like I'm dying in a sense mentally. I was like he's not going to take anything else from me. And so just like in the I think it was like the mental illness 1993 episodes, I was still able to function with mental illness, but not properly. So although I was having panic attacks back then and agoraphobia and all of that, I still would go to school because again, I felt like this issue is not going to rob me of the very thing that I'm trying to accomplish. And so there's different degrees. I mean, there's degrees in which people completely um can't, get off the floor, get out of the house and stuff like that. Um but I felt like he's taken my future away. He's taken our future away. And I know that I'm being kind of melodramatic in this. Um but this is the way I was feeling at the time. Like he was my future. He was my everything. And as you can see with all the other episodes of relationships, dating guys, they weren't working out. I got rid of them. So I was not um I was not above um moving on. I just did not feel that we were I'm sorry. I felt like we were actually a healthy situation, which made it even more devastating to kind of move on. So probably for the first 2 years of trying to recover from this, I couldn't drink. I could barely eat. And again, that would have meant, I'm sorry, that would have meant like going to the store and formulating a plan on choosing liquor, picking out liquor, bringing it home, and all of that stuff. So it took me kind of years to recover enough to be functional. So when I became functional, I started to drink. Now I'm trying to think back of how this started. Did I just simply say, I'm feeling like shit, I want to feel better, I'm gonna drink, or was it now um the quote unquote proud I was running with? So when I was in a relationship with Greg, I would do stuff with my friends, I would do stuff with my coworkers, but it isn't like it is now. Now we're like constantly out, constantly for a bunch of middle-aged women partying, I mean, we're not partying, but we're partying, for us. Um, so I I don't know. I don't know what came first, like the exposure to it with my coworkers, or if I just suddenly was like, I'm kind of stable. Now I want to forget everything type of thing. I want to just drown myself out. And so little by little, the alcohol became a daily thing. And I was very transparent with my psychiatrist. I mean, he prescribes my medicine, so I'm very transparent. And honestly, like, you're not my parents, you're not my significant other. And even if you were, I'd be like, and I had to tell my parents, I was like, this is what I'm doing. I like my drink now, which they never had to worry about any of that. So, I told my psychiatrist exactly what was going on, how much I was drinking, whatnot, and everything like that. And so, as far as with him, it was like, basically, he was like, it's gonna get worse. I know, you're kind of maintaining it. It's not out of control because at this point, I'm missing some work, but I'm not missing work to the extent of like a true somebody with true alcoholism. That's why I call it alcohol abuse. Um, um, so somewhere in there, which I know I'm jumping all over, and I appreciate you following me. Later on down the line, when I was trying to um completely control what was going on with the alcohol and how much I use it, I went to an AA meeting, and that was a whole different story. And so I realized when I went to an AA meeting, and maybe it's just me, and maybe it's just my experience, or maybe it's just my interpretation. So if you kind of had a different situation, or you completely disagree or agree, or whatnot, this is just my take on it. So when I went to an AA meeting, these were people that were not functional. These were people that couldn't keep a job, that maybe abused their family, might have been transient, they might have been homeless, whatnot. So I could not really relate to this. I think if my life had been that way, I think I could completely relate and be like, "Oh my goodness, that was me," you know? But I was like, "No, I'm a," and I say this respectfully, and I say this about myself, so I can say it, functional drunk. Every so often, of course, I'm missing work because of the hangovers and, whatnot, but I'm I started a doctoral program while I was, you know, an alcoholic. I'm going to work, I'm doing overtime, I'm back in school, I'm doing a doctoral program. So when somebody's telling you that they can't keep a job and they're constantly homeless, you feel for them. You completely feel for them, and you're like, that must have been horrible for you and your family and stuff. But you're like, I can't relate. So I didn't continue down that road because I felt like that is for me to me, that is true alcoholism. Like, you're on Skid Row, you have nothing. And kind of like addicts, drug addicts. And I was like, yeah, I'm just a little too free with the drink here, like. So they were let me tell you, if I had a problem that was extreme as what everybody was conveying, this would have been a very wonderful place to come to.